Welcome to my channel to everyone who's new here and of course to those of you who are back again. Great to have you here. Bitcoin is currently trading at 105,000 US dollar. In this video we will take a look together at possible scenarios for the price development of Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP and Solana. Things remain exciting, so make sure to watch until the end. So let's just jump into Bitcoin. I have changed the rising wedge, which you can see in orange. I've changed it a little bit, made it more precise. So we broke into the downside. We also got our retest. Target of the rising wedge is going to be the 103,000 US dollar. I can still imagine, that's why we are in the 50 minutes chart, that we can also break the $105,080 to the upside, get into the fair value gap or even be more bullish and even still push into the 107,000 US dollar. Or even 107,500, now 107,600 US dollar. So basically, in my opinion, it's not worth shorting Bitcoin. And I will show you why, because if we look into the Bitcoin dominance, then you can see, if we go into the 4-hour chart, the Bitcoin dominance is strong. Yeah, we got here some kind of an altcoin rally, where everyone have said, this is the altcoin season. It wasn't the altcoin season, it wasn't the start of the altcoin season. Instead, we are back in the top area. And if we go into the 50 minutes chart, then you can already see that the Bitcoin dominance broke out of a bull flag, retested it, and can go for higher, I don't want to say prices, but the Bitcoin dominance is going to get higher, in my opinion. And we have the chance, if we just be the least bullish, would be if we just take the push from here and not from down here. We put it to the breakout point. 65.4% is going to be the target of the bull flag. And if we are even more bullish, then we can just maximize the target. And the maximum target is going to be the 66% for Bitcoin. So in my opinion, Bitcoin dominance is increasing, means Bitcoin is going to outperform the altcoins, and you can already see it. Sui, for example, okay, you can't see it here, but TradingView showing me -6%. Kaspa, -6.5%. Bitcoin, -1%. So Bitcoin is losing 1%, while some altcoins are losing 6%. Yeah, Tau, 4%. HBAR, -4%. So basically, Bitcoin is not worth shorting. My eyes are on the altcoins. If the Bitcoin dominance is increasing and Bitcoin is dropping, like this, then I want to short the altcoins. If Bitcoin pushes to the upside and the Bitcoin dominance is also going up, then I want to long Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is going to outperform in that way the altcoins. If Bitcoin is going up and the Bitcoin dominance is dropping, then I want to long the altcoins. So anyway, we still have the chance to push into 105,800 US dollar in my opinion, if we break to the upside. If not, then the target is ongoing, 103,000 US dollars. So if we don't break to the upside, then we should get at least to 103,500 US dollar, where I think we are going to get some support. We have seen it in the past. We didn't get the perfect support, but the red trend line always hold beside in this push to the downside. And I think it's also going to hold. Even if we wick lower than this and get to our 103,000 US dollar, then this can also be a double bottom pattern afterwards. So if we break the 103,500 US dollars sustainable to the downside, then I would say, okay, the scenario which I have drew you here, that we should drop into the other fair value gap at round about 100,000 US dollar, is going to happen with a very high chance. And if this is going to happen, and if the Bitcoin dominance is pushing to the upside, the altcoins are going to get, I would say, a very very fast and very huge sell-off. So we will jump into the first altcoin, which is the biggest one, Ethereum. So for Ethereum, I still think we have two scenarios in mind. We had here the bear flag, which broke to the downside, which got its retest. So Ethereum is short, but we have also said it might be possible that we just drop into the purple box and fill the fair value gaps over us, which reaches prices up to 2,720 US dollar before we sell off. So what I want to see, if I want to short, 2,466 US dollar breaking to the downside, and afterwards the red trend line, 2,410 US dollar. If the red trend line breaks to the downside, then I think we are going to get a fast push into the fair value gap, which is between 2,275 US dollar to 2,220 US dollar. I will also put you here two price marks on the chart. This is going to be my target because that's the target of the bear flag. And fair value gaps, if we go into the 4-hour chart, you can already see it. What is this? We have a big, I would even say one big fair value gap down to 1,830 US dollar. And yes, I don't want to say that we are going to drop there, but we have the chance to get there if we form more bearish patterns. So if the 2,410 US dollar breaks to the downside, then it's definitely short for me, and I can consider taking a short trade before if we don't have fair value gaps over us. So if we get over the weekend slowly to a breakout, then I can even enter a trade a bit earlier. But the short trade which I'm going to take is not going to be with a high position. My focus is going to be the 2,410 US dollar breaking to the downside. If we go into the 50 minutes chart, then you can already see that we have two bullish chart patterns on the 50 minutes chart. So in orange, this falling wedge and this double bottom pattern. The double bottom pattern can also develop. So let me take out this one here. Before I started the video, we didn't get this candle. So basically now it can also be a double top pattern. So this looks like a small rectangle. If we also break it to the downside, so I have to change the chart pattern a little bit. So because it changed within 30 minutes. So if we break it to the downside, then I take the spread of the box, put it to the downside, and then you can see target 2,455 US dollar. So since I see it right now, if we break the 2,490 US dollar to the downside, then I can even consider taking a short trade as well. So I can try to get my short entry here with a very small position size. If we break the 2,466 US dollar to the downside as well, then I can double up my position size. And if we afterwards break the 2,410 US dollar to the downside, then I can double up again. And that's going to be a tasty trade if we don't get some kind of a bounce, because I'm going to save my short position once we break to the downside. So if I get my trade at 2,490 US dollar and we break the 2,466 US dollar to the downside also, then I'm going to enter the trade right here. And also here, my average price is going to be here. And I'm going to set my stop loss right at break even. So if we then get a bounce, then I'm out of the trade with plus minus 0. If we continue breaking to the downside, then this can be a very, very tasty trade. Anyway, if we break the 2,524 US dollar to the upside, then we have some, I don't want to say upside momentum, but we can reach for some higher prices up to 2,575 US dollar, 2,590 US dollar. But if we zoom out, then this can also be a triple top pattern. So this would be still bearish. If we get rejected there, we can still drop into the fair value gaps, which are far lower than us. Yeah, they are not close to us, they're far lower than us. And we are going to take those fair value gaps. The question is, are we going to do it in the next week? Or are we waiting for the next bear market, which can happen in a few months, or even next month, 1 year, we don't know it yet. But those fair value gaps are going to get closed sooner or later. So we will jump into XRP. For XRP, I have also changed in orange the rising wedge. I made it more perfect. So we also broke it to the downside, and I think the target is ongoing. The area between $2.09 to $2.08. If we go into that area, then we have to see if we are going to get an impulsive push to the upside. So this can also be a double bottom pattern. Or we get something like this. So we sell off, and afterwards we get a corrective move to the upside. So a corrective move to the upside. If I see that, then I'm very confident that once we break to the downside, we should see lower prices for XRP. And the area which I think is very interesting is the fair value gap between $1.86 to $1.92. And there is also going to be a target of a rectangle. This rectangle here. So if we break it to the downside, then we should see the $1.86 to $1.92 with a very high chance. So I also told you that rectangles are unique, so we also broke to the upside here, but we were weak, so we didn't get into the target of the rectangle. I think that's going to happen sooner or later as well. We have seen it very often for many coins so far, that rectangles get into their targets in both directions. But it doesn't mean that just because we are going to drop here, that we are going to push and get into the target. It means that we can still get into the target. We can also break to the downside, and sooner or later we should see that and even get into the fair value gap, which is between $2.40 to $2.45. I think we should see that because we also have here still a target ongoing from a rectangle, and also another target ongoing from a rectangle. So I think this is going to get interesting. I think that we are going to sell off first into the first fair value gap lower than us, and afterwards push into the next fair value gap up to $2.40 to $2.45. And in my opinion, if we are a bit more patient, this can be from the minimum part of the fair value gap lower than us to the minimum part to the upper side, 25% without leverage. So now put leverage on it. This can be very tasty. So next coin, Solana. Solana broke also the bear flag to the downside. And for Solana, I didn't take the most bearish scenario. So usually we take this whole downtrend and put it then to the breakout point. I think that's far too bearish. It can still happen. I took the mid-range and the last sell-off for that bear flag. I would change my target if we undershoot it, means we get a sustainable low lower than the target here. Then I can change it to the maximum target. But we broke to the downside, and now we are having a consolidation within a triangle or a bearish pennant. Both are the same in my opinion. The target is just going to change. So the target of the triangle, and I'm taking the target of the triangle because for the bearish pennant we have to take this whole down move and put it then to the breakout point. This is also far too bearish, and we don't always get into the target of the bearish pennant, but we usually do for the triangle. So we have 3 targets at the moment which are between 130 US dollar to 134 US dollar. This box here, so I can steal the price mark from the left side, and I can add another one. This is going to be my target for Solana. If we break the price mark, where we are very close at 143 US dollar and round about 10 cents. If we do, then I think we are going to sell off into the purple box. And afterwards we have to think about a bullish chart pattern, because in bright blue, maybe you don't see it because it is very messy here, but this here could be a falling wedge. And yes, we can also change the lower trend line of that falling wedge to the downside. So this would also still be a falling wedge. Can even be a bull flag. So if we get some kind of this movement that we pushed here to the upside, and we get a consolidation within a bull flag and afterwards break to the upside, then I think we can also get into the targets from an old falling wedge in orange, which is the target at 210 US dollar for Solana. And I think this is going to be very realistic in my opinion, that we are first selling off into the purple box and afterwards get a nice push. And then people are going to talk about an altcoin season again. And afterwards we are going to sell off. It's always the same. So I would be careful once people are talking about an altcoin season again. We have seen it before. This is the Bitcoin dominance. So the Bitcoin dominance is showing us if we are in the altcoin season or not. If the Bitcoin dominance is dropping, then we are in the altcoin season. Here, many YouTubers said altcoin season. Afterwards, let me take out the price mark here. Here it was an altcoin season. Here, beginning of the altcoin season. Beginning of the altcoin season. Beginning of the altcoin season. So it's always the beginning of an altcoin season, but you can see the trend, and I think if you even wear glasses, you don't even need them. You already see we are still in an uptrend. And yes, we can also go for even 70%. So basically, I have a red trend line on the chart. Look from where we came. So I have a red trend line on the chart. I just have to move the price mark a bit to the right. So if we break the roundabout 59% in the Bitcoin dominance to the downside, then I'm ready to talk about a possible altcoin season. This trend line is the sharpest one which I have found on the chart. So just because the sharpest trend line is breaking to the downside, it doesn't mean that this is going to be an altcoin season, because we have many other trend lines on the chart which can also work. For example, we can take, do I find with my eyes one with 3 touch points? Look, this has 3 touch points, maybe even 4 touch points. If this breaks to the downside, this is a bit lower, 57.68. Then this might be the altcoin season. We can also take horizontal support, for example this one. And then you can already see we have so many trend lines to break to the downside to be in an altcoin season. So the red trend line is the first and the sharpest trend line which we are going to break to the downside, which is also valid in my opinion. And then we have to see if we get a nice altcoin rally or even the altcoin season. As long as we don't get a breakout lower than the red trend line, I'm not ready to talk about an altcoin season. I would just talk about an altcoin rally, like we have seen, for example, in this sell-off in the Bitcoin dominance, we already have seen how the altcoins performed. Yeah, Ethereum did, I think, 20 or 30% in that time to the upside. But for the big move, I want to see this. And then I can say the altcoins should double, triple, or even do a 10x some coins. They are not the major caps, but some altcoins are going to do it, in my opinion. I just need to find out which one, and we are going to find it out. Once we break to the downside, then we can see some chart structure, hopefully. So with that said, we will look into the next video over Sui, Avalanche, HBAR and Dogecoin, and afterwards Render, Tau, Kaspa and ONDO. See you then.